and for the last 10 years, this handsome, desirable town family residence had been the abode of rats by day and something else by night, so said the neighbours. Of course, it was the very thing for John, and he snatched up the gauntlet on the spot. He scoffed at its evil repute and solemnly promised to rehabilitate its character within a week. I was charged by our host to serve as a witness, to verify that John Hollyoake did indeed spend the night at number 90. The next night at 10 o'clock, I found myself standing with John on the steps of the notorious abode. But I was not going to remain. The carriage that had brought us was to take me back to my respectable chambers. This ill-fated house was large, solemn-looking and gloomy. A heavy portico frowned down on neighbouring barefaced hall doors. The elderly caretaker was prudently awaiting us outside with a key, which said key he turned in the lock and admitted us into a great echoing hall, black as night, saying as he did so, "My missus has made the bed and stoked up a good fire in the first front, sir. Your things are all laid out, and I hope you'll have a comfortable night, sir." "No, sir. Thank you, sir. Excuse me, I'll not come in. Good night." And with the words still on his lips, he clattered down the steps with most indecent haste and vanished. "And of course, you will not come in either," said John. "It is not in the bond, and I prefer to face them alone." And he laughed contemptuously, a laugh that had a curious echo. It struck me at the time, a laugh strangely repeated with an unpleasant, mocking emphasis. "Call for me alive or dead at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning," he added, pushing me forcibly out into the porch and closing the door with a heavy, reverberating clang that sounded halfway down the street. I did call for him the next morning as desired with the caretaker, who stared at John's commonplace, self-possessed appearance with an expression of respectful astonishment. "So it was all humbug, of course," I said, as he took my arm, and we set off for our club. "You shall have the whole story whenever we have had something to eat," he replied somewhat impatiently. "It will keep till after breakfast. I'm famishing." I remarked that he looked unusually grave as we chatted over our broiled fish and omelette, and that occasionally his attention seemed wandering, to say the least. The moment he had brought out his cigar case and lit up, he turned to me and said, "I see you are just quivering to know my experience, and I won't keep you in suspense any longer. In 4 words, I have seen them." I merely looked at him with widely parted mouth and staring interrogative eyes. I believe I had best endeavour to give the narrative without comment, and in John Hollyoake's own way. This is as well as I can recollect his experience word for word. I proceeded upstairs after I had shut you out, lighting my way by a match, and found the front room easily, as the door was ajar, and it was lit up by a roaring and a most cheerful-looking fire, and 2 wax candles. It was a comfortable apartment, furnished with old-fashioned chairs and tables, and the traditional 4-poster bed. There were numerous doors, which proved to be cupboards, and when I had executed a rigorous search in each of these closets, unlocked them, and investigated the bed above and beneath, sounded the walls and bolted the door, I sat down before the fire, lit a cigar, opened a book, and felt that I was going to be master of the situation, and most thoroughly and comfortably at home. My novel proved absorbing. I read on greedily, chapter after chapter, and so interested was I, and amused, for it was a lively book, that I positively lost sight of my whereabouts, and fancied myself reading in my own chamber. There was not a sound. The coals dropping from the grate occasionally broke the silence, till a neighbouring church clock slowly boomed 12. "The hour," I said to myself with a laugh, as I gave the fire a rousing poke and commenced a new chapter. But ere I had read 3 pages, I had occasion to pause and listen. What was that distinct sound now coming nearer and nearer? Rats, of course, said common sense. It was just the house for vermin. Then a longish silence, again a stir, sounds approaching, as if apparently caused by many feet passing down the corridor. High-heeled shoes, the sweeping swish of silken